A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this 91st edition of the Together for Education webinar brought to you by Notebook. Today is the 17th of April, 2021. Almost exactly a year ago, on the 20th of April, 2020, when the lockdown because of the pandemic had just started, we at Notebook wanted to help out the education fraternity with an activity that would help our teachers to become more hands-on with the new learning platforms that were coming to the fore, Zoom being one of them. We set up a series of webinars thinking that maybe for a month or two, we would host a series of discussions around the pandemic, digital education, and other such important topics. A year later, the pandemic is still on. We are looking at a second wave that is hitting the country. And we at Notebook have had the privilege of playing host to more than 50,000 educators who have graced this platform. Week after week, we have discussed topics ranging from extremely curricular, like NEP, the new system of education that's coming up, to extracurricular, like sports and games and houses, to topics like mental health. Today, we are just a day old when we have heard the news that the CBSE Class 10 exams this year will not take place. The CBSE Class 12 exams, however, have been postponed. These students, the Class 12 students, are for the first time in their lives stepping out of the school campus, out of the pastoral care that they have been receiving into the open world. What we are going to look at today is the very important advice that you as educators would give these students who are leaving the school for the first time. Our first speaker today is Achin Bhattacharyya. Achin is the founder and CEO at Notebook. A chartered accountant by training, Achin was a director at Deloitte prior to starting Notebook. He has worked in India and abroad in various senior capacities in GE, PwC, KPMG, and Deloitte. He is a fellow of the ICAI and a member of CP Australia. He is also the recipient of the prestigious Indian Achievers Award. Achin is an avid reader and a passionate traveler with keen interests in economics, history, literature, and philosophy. He is a regular speaker at various forums and chambers of commerce, and also contributes articles to numerous publications regularly. He is also on the board of some of the most renowned corporates and contributes significantly to their brand strategies. Achin, over to you.
Good evening, everyone. Shubha, am I audible?
Yeah, Achin, loud and clear.
I once again welcome all of you to today's session on a topic which is not only exciting for students, but very important for parents and educators as well. So very recently, before I move on to the topic, I just like to share with you, very recently, I was going through some survey findings. And certain findings that I saw were basically the reason as to why we chose this topic. And let me share one or two key highlights with you. And some of these findings are indeed very worrying, I'll say. I was going through a global survey that points out, and the survey has been done exclusively, like across more than 10 major economies, interviewing a number of people from the corporate world at various levels, etc. And the topic of survey was with regard to readiness of new entrants in the job market. You know, students who are entering the job market, how ready are they? How equipped are they? How prepared are they? And the survey finds out that 3 out of 5 employers, that means 60% of employers feel that the current lot of job seekers, like new entrants in the job market, are not equipped enough. And why do we say so? So let's go into details of that. On one hand, they agree that as far as academic skills are concerned, things have only improved from time to time. So they feel that the current lot of job seekers, in terms of their academic credibility, in terms of the kind of domain knowledge they bring on board, they're happy with it. So then what is the reason for dissatisfaction? They feel that the challenge lies in terms of the ability to handle failure whenever there's a stress situation, which very often happens in any walk of life. Whenever there is a situation which involves any kind of stress, failure, results not being as expected, they feel that very easily, under pressure, very easily, in many cases, students are giving up. So we thought of getting into more details of this and trying to find out that what is the root cause of the problem? And can we, as various stakeholders in the education ecosystem, join hands and do something about it? So, first of all, before moving into the topic, I once again welcome all of you in this particular session, which I feel undoubtedly is, as I told you, is very important, and not only important for students, but important for all stakeholders. Now, when the final day comes, that particular moment of truth when we bid adieu to the passing out batch, the senior most in the campus, who set sail for the bigger journey of life, one that will take them through a mixed bag of emotions and experiences. And their biggest skill during all those future years is going to be the value and ethics that have been ingrained in them, in their thought process, by parents and esteemed educators. Now, the transition from school to real world undoubtedly can be exciting, but it can also present challenges filled with uncertainty and stress. Now, we all agree that transition is a way of life. Like some transitions are expected, planned, and some are unplanned, like forced by circumstances. So be it changing jobs, moving to a new town, changing school. And in many cases, these transitions, they take us out of our comfort zones. And they cause a certain amount of, they may need a certain amount of readjustment, relooking at life, and at times, again, giving up on things that we take for granted, like as we have seen during last 1 year during pandemic. Now, psychologists popularly call these transitions as life stress events. And as you'd all agree that a very significant transition occurs when young adults who are already coping with issues of late adolescence step out of school and step into college. This significant transition really takes them by the scruff and hurls them into a world they are quite unprepared for at times. Now, there are various factors which make this more challenging. First and foremost, the way the world perceives them. I think age can be both chronological as well as a matter of perception. And our conditioning makes us believe that somebody in college is on the way to becoming an adult or a member of the adult fraternity. So what happens is maybe the moment a child completes his or her schooling and steps into college, he or she is treated differently. Now, these perceptions and stereotypes are probably reinforced at every step of the young adult's journey. But how does he or she respond to it? Like this sudden found freedom, at times no day-to-day monitoring by teachers, no fixed schedules that, okay, in school, this is PD time and now you need to do your homework. So suddenly that sense of being free. Now, such choices at times in young adults' life require that they learn the fine art of balancing their newfound freedom. And it's easier said than done. The need for rigor with the understanding that they are now totally and wholly responsible for the way they live. So if we look at some of the issues that these young adults face, if we step into their shoes, the moment they step out of the protective confines of school system, now, and more so, these issues become more pronounced, more evident if they live away from home. If they study in a college and stay in a hostel or a PG, first and foremost, the need to fit in, and it's really important for any new college student to establish new friendships with groups and individuals who may be vastly different from him or her. So this urge and this compelling need to fit in, at times this leads to forceful change of behavior and habits so as to fit into a particular group. Second, I think very important is the physical environment aspect. Many have to get used to staying in hostels, PG, or adjusting to new set of roommates, and a different kind of food. So naturally, these adjustments also take time, right? Third, another very important aspect is the financial aspect, because for the first time, many of these young adults, they are expected to manage their own finances. They're expected to handle cash, expected to live on a budget, and buying things for themselves, especially if they're staying out in a different city. Now, naturally, it can lead to two different outcomes, and these two are completely extreme outcomes. One, either splurging, a newfound sense of freedom, or becoming extremely insecure and miserly about money. So again, these things naturally, if you look at things from an 18-year-old's perspective, at times leads to a lot of stress. Another very important aspect is competitiveness and aggression. There's no denying the fact that competitiveness in colleges at times is far more than school. Now, suddenly the openness with which these children would share notes or help out a fellow student may no longer be there, because in school they have literally grown up, spent so many years studying together, 15, 16 years. Now they find that at times in a college, in an unknown surrounding, if they find that there are other students who are taking advantage of their openness, then that entire word called trust, which is very important, a concept that in school we really take for granted, that flies out of the window. Suddenly, one may become suspicious about fellow students, and thus, at the end of the day, end up harming oneself in terms of losing that trust. Also, other issues, like for instance, very, very important, which arise out of this transition, issues like loneliness. I think single most important issue that a young adult deals with, which really is at times is very stressful. Being in the middle of many people and yet feeling lonely. Thus, even a simple sharing of happiness many a time may not be possible. And also along with that, many other different questions comes in. Questions about identity, difference with peers and friends, some differences reconcilable, some not so reconcilable. Relationships with near ones. Again, identity crisis. School is much more closely knit vis-a-vis a college. In college, at times, a student may find it difficult to find a lecturer who actually knows his or her name. So imagine being identified by roll number. And that's so impersonal vis-a-vis what a student has seen for so many years in school. And for many of us, our identity is defined by the institution we are associated with, where we have studied or the place where we work, live, shop. Now, for the young adults entering college, the question of identity really becomes paramount. Now, college is the time when one's adult identity really takes shape. But while in school, there is a sense of composite sense of identity. Because that really forms over a long period of time. Even the occasional oddball is accepted as belonging to a larger whole. But in college, groups quickly form, and groups form around various factors like geographic regions from where students have come, languages that they speak, social status, different other preferences, choices, etc. And thus, members of that particular group are expected to adhere to a certain norm. Another very important and complex issue for students, I guess, especially for 18-year-olds who are just entering into college, is issue with regard to relationships and communication. Now, this is a very complex issue. I think this is so complex that this deserves an entire session on its own. So I'll not go into details, but be it relationship with peers, relationship with adults, relationship with parents. I think parents, very, very important, because there is a sea change in relationship with parents. And the so-called generational divide, we have seen this very often, maybe not in all cases, but very, very often become so starker. Parents now suddenly seem to be overprotective and old-fashioned. And this situation becomes more difficult if the young adult continues to stay at home. So at times parents find it difficult, with all good intention, to accept late night parties or the different kind of freedoms that are associated with college life. Again, engaging with academic also at times is an issue. Because if you look at curriculum, and there's been a lot of literature around this particular topic, that especially for a young adult who is entering into college, his or her interaction with the academic world, because there are two different aspects to it. One is subjects which are more related to domain knowledge, and second is, and which at times may be very theoretical. Thus, many scholars and researchers around the world want that in order to prepare children for this particular phase of life, they be taught more real-life skills, so as to reduce the gap between what they learn in school and vis-a-vis what they really need in later life. And as I was telling you, that there's been a lot of discussion about modern youth being supposedly less ready for adulthood than their parent generation. Now, opinions might vary. So I would also like to ask all esteemed educators here, that what is your opinion on this? Of course, we have a stellar panel today and we would like to hear from them as well. Then what is your panel on this? What is your opinion on this? Do you really think that today's teenagers are less prepared for the real world than ever before? And if so, why? Now, at times, and many of these articles, at times we have seen that teenagers today are a perfect example of what can happen if parents never challenge their children to go above and beyond. And again, there are exceptions. I'm only talking of the general phenomenon. At times we have seen that these kids growing up with a sense of entitlement. It used to be that you'd be extremely privileged, say 2 decades back, if you got used to your parents' old car once you turned 18. So that used to make us so happy. And if really we wanted something else, something better than that, you are expected to get a job, pay for it yourself, because it was a triggering sense of responsibility. Today, we very often see 16 or 18-year-olds with fancy new cars for themselves. Maybe not in all cases, but very often we see. Or maybe the latest model, best possible model of a smartphone. So this causes teenagers to be, and I'm asking this is not my opinion, that do you think really this causes teenagers to be less prepared for the real world than ever before? With a large section of parents adhering to their children's wish. There's no denying the fact that the school system and parents should be working together to raise educated students, and parents are equally responsible. Of course, as has been discussed in this forum again and again, that parents are the first teachers, so their responsibility undoubtedly is huge. Similarly, for school as well. So at times, if there are gaps in terms of parents, many times we have seen this, because if there's anybody else apart from parents who are real role model for children while growing up, they're the teachers. Thus, a kind of joint effort between parents and educators to train the next generation of children to be independent and be more prepared for what's ahead. Also, another very important question, that what is important when we teach these children? What kind of subjects are important? If we had the opportunity to design a curriculum for the future, how should that be? If we design it grounds up, and how will it be different from what is there? I guess there are two very important aspects to be kept in mind. One, what students are interested in, and second, what students will need for their lives after graduating, after moving out of school to enter the real world. So a few very important advice I think is very important is, and this is true for young adults, and which I'm sure that many of our esteemed educators in their own way are imparting, are teaching. I think it's really important for students not to get discouraged by the learning curve, because life will teach you at its own pace. And we all know that life is the biggest teacher. No academic institution can prepare anyone completely to take on the real world. And there is bound to be a learning curve. And students should not get discouraged. The exciting part of the new journey is that there is so much to learn. And they should indeed look forward to this next chapter and all that it offers, which will enhance professional and personal growth. Second, I think very important aspect, and this one was told, I remember, and the second point is learning how to use our free time. I remember interacting with a professor at Oxford, and he once told me, he asked me once that, what do you think is the best thing about Oxford? What does Oxford really teach a student? And he himself gave the answer. He told me that our university teaches a student about how to spend free time, his or her free time. Unwinding and letting your guard down is easier said than done. It's really important to use our free time doing things that we enjoy and which enriches our life. Maybe little small things, be it traveling, cooking, spending time with family. So unless and until students take a more holistic view of life and learn to enjoy small little pleasures of life. So we were discussing, when I started my deliberation, I was discussing about the feedback that is coming from employers in terms of students not being able to handle stress. I think that up to a large extent has got to do with taking life too seriously, which really doesn't help beyond a point. Another very important aspect is investing in personal wellness. Wellness, when you use the term wellness, it's much more than exercising, right? Personal wellness is important for everyday success. It can, like, for instance, a true balance of physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. Being good to our body, mind, and soul. Thus, for students also, who are entering the more stressful real world, a solid foundation of personal wellness is very, very important for professional success and growth. Another very important aspect, as we were discussing about the sense of entitlement while growing up. I think it is important for young adults to be responsible with resources, including money, and learn to respect it. When I say resources, even time is a very scarce and important resource. Even any talent that you can nurture and take it forward is a very important resource. Thus, taking charge of one's life and being responsible. I would like to recommend two books here, which are really wonderful books. And I request, and I'm sure many of our educators in this forum would agree with me. One, I remember a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Wonderful book with regard to financial management. Wonderful book with regard to how to manage one's finances. And second, The Money Book for the Young, Fabulous and Broke by Suze Orman. Again, wonderful book, worth reading. I think with that last point I would like to mention is enjoying life to the fullest. And enjoying each moment, each aspect that life may bring. And really, we don't have to have everything figured out about life. Everything may not be picture perfect. And at times, the beauty really lies in imperfection. And also in trying to figure it out. In the process, we all make mistakes, but we learn from those mistakes and grow. So I think these are a few aspects that I wanted to discuss with regard to today's topic, which I really find very relevant, contemporary, relevant, and interesting. We have a great panel today, and I really look forward to the deliberation on this. Also request members of the esteemed audience who are here today that I would like to know what is your opinion on this. Any questions you have, etc. Please feel free to send it to us in the question bar. Thank you so much. Over to you, Shubhai.
Thank you so much, Achin. Thank you for that wonderful opening to this topic. Ladies and gentlemen, as Achin mentioned, we do have a wonderful panel lined up for you today. Pardon me for that voice loss. As Achin mentioned, we do have a stellar panel lined up for you today. Before we move on to the panel discussion, a little bit about Notebook. We at Notebook are an EdTech organization. We make short videos pertaining to the school curriculum, which both teachers and students have access to. Teachers can make use of these videos at the start of their class, be it an online class or an offline class, and play these videos out so that the students get a visual understanding of the topic to follow. These short videos, 6 to 10 minutes in duration, take very little time from your regular class period, and you can use the rest of the time more fruitfully since you're discussing a topic that the students now have a basic understanding of. Months later, the students have access to these same videos on their personal devices. A laptop, a smartphone, any internet-capable device that the student has access to, they can use to access Notebook videos. And then they have access to these videos to revise those topics. Maybe just before an exam, when they're watching the video that you played in class on a particular day, they would remember exactly the words that you spoke following the video. Given today's topic, we wanted to show you a particular video about a young person who has just started working. What you would see is a form of storytelling that we call augmented storytelling. This method of using stories to engage the student to introduce a topic is something that is core to Notebook. Here is a short sample of one such Notebook video.
This is Bara Babu, the head accountant, and this is Amos. He has newly joined the tea estate as an assistant to Bara Babu. Bara Babu has been the head accountant for many years in the estate. He will retire in the next year and is all set to train Amos with all his deliverables. So students, along with Amos, we too will learn today.
Good morning, Amos. Have you done ledger postings?
Oh yes, Barababu, I have done ledger posting in my exams.
And how did you know that they were correct?
I used to ensure that the sum of all debits would equal to the sum of all credits.
And why so?
Because the basic principle of accounting says that for every debit, there should be an equal credit.
Correct. And this check brings us to the concept of trial balance.
Yes, I have learned trial balances in my class, but want to know more about it.
Yes, but before that, tell me your understanding.
A statement which shows the balances of all debits and credits of the complete set of ledgers to verify the arithmetical accuracy of the respective ledger postings is known as the trial balance.
True, in a practical scenario, the final accounts preparation starts with the trial balance. A correct trial simplifies the preparation of the final statement of accounts, as we do not need to go through the entire set of ledgers.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was just a short snap from one of the notebook videos. More than 10,000 such videos are available on our website www.notebook.school should you choose to use them. With that done, it is now time to move on to the special panel that we have lined up for you today. I'll just take a moment to introduce the two panelists to you before we start. We have with us Mrs. Jaya Pathak, who is the principal of Srimati Janki Devi Mandelia, co-educational English medium school from Pilani, Rajasthan. Mrs. Pathak has over 20 years of rich experience with post-graduation in education, possessing valuable insights, keen analysis, and team approach to implement best practices, and is adept at working in high-pressure environments with strict deadlines and multiple deliverables. She is a qualified professional with an MSc in Home Science, Home Management, and a B.Ed. She is well-read and open-minded with a flair for fruitful and positive interaction with people from different backgrounds. She's had a career complemented with extensive voluntary service for National Service Scheme (NSS) at the college level. She has been instrumental in making the school CBSE affiliated. She has maintained excellent results of her students in all faculties running in the school, and she had introduced smart classes and day boarding system for a school. She has been part of numerous training programs and workshops and presented multiple papers at various conferences. Ma'am, thank you so much for making the time and for being here today. We also have with us Dr. Shantha James, who is the principal of the Indian Central School in Kuwait. Dr. James has been the recipient of the Best Teacher Award from the President of India and is a self-confessed zealot with determination, commitment, and compassion, and has contributed tremendously in the field of education and to the community. She has done a doctorate in education leadership. She possesses a master's in English and philosophy and a master's in education. She has numerous accolades and certifications to her credit. She is uncompromising in her efforts to provide quality education for her students and never loses sight of students and their needs. Her association with the community by holding various prestigious positions shows her role as an ambassador of human values. Her empathetic approach towards children with special needs makes her a unique personality. Ma'am, once again, thank you so much for being here and gracing this platform. We are privileged to host both of you. I will stop the share now, start my video so that we can see each other and start the discussion. Dr. James, Mrs. Pathak, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure for us to be with you.
Ma'am, the privilege is all ours. Dr. James, I'll start with you. The fundamental question. You have a set of students leaving school every year after their class 12 who move on to their next stage, which is ostensibly college. What is that advice that you give them as they're leaving pastoral care behind?
Well, thank you, Shubhayuraj. And a very good evening to all the panelists and the viewers out there. Yes, when we talk of pastoral care in higher secondary school, we all know that this is a very, very significant chapter in every child's life, especially when they are in the high school and the high secondary school. As this develops the self-esteem totally, and through various activities in the school of collaboration and coordination, these kids, they develop the social skills and they have the opportunity to understand and enhance the ability to cope with stress. You know, Dr. Bhattacharyya was talking a lot about stress, coping with stress management. So these kind of pastoral care supports the student in school life to feel kind of safe and valued. But when we look at them moving over from entering into the real world after grade 12, what this year especially what I need to clearly emphasize over here is The current situation is entirely different from the previous years. I know the panelists and the viewers all around will agree that, this whole year of schooling and happened from home, totally, where the kids have not met the teachers. They have not met the friends face to face. When I sit in my office, I go to the office every day. Well, I feel the school dead. The corridors are not echoing the students' voices, which is so silent. There is no assemblies happening in the auditorium, not the labs. The kids have not stepped into the laboratories, but they're supposed to give examinations. So I also, when I walk into the playground, I see it's so silent, like a graveyard. Otherwise, it used to be so noisy with kids around. And pitifully, I don't think many of them have wore the school uniforms still this year, and have not sat physically together during lunch hours, which is very important areas that they have actually missed. So actually right now, with the announcement that has come before 2 days, leaving schools without proper exams. In fact, I would say still unsure about the exam. We're not still sure. It's going to be June 1st for us. So there's a great question mark, so much of stress. There has been no proper farewells. There has been no proper goodbyes. And they did not experience the crucial year of real physical schooling. And this definitely will be a challenge in facing the coming world, especially when they get into the world immediately, just like Dr. Bhattacharyya was saying. But then here I would say, dear parents and children, don't worry at all. It's not just you. It's all, we're all sailing the same boat. And no one really knows exactly or knows completely what we want to do exactly at this moment. But things are so uncertain. But let me tell you, the same question, if would have been on students' mind, who would have had a proper physical schooling, as they would have been protected at every step and spoon-fed due to the pastoral care of protection. They also would be in such a situation, because totally when they were in the school, in physical school, they are totally fed by us, spoon-fed by the teachers, the counselors, and everybody around. But you sitting at home this year, I'm sure, I'm confident that many of you have learned to be independent. Many of you have learned to do your way the way you want. And this 1 year must have taught you what is the best way for you individually. So you are all at an advantage, I would say. So nothing to worry at all. So let me say that a few things that I would suggest here is to make the most of the present time. Start building the power of yet. Y-E-T, yet, the power of yet. This is a small word, but this allows to success. Although there are several suggestions that I can give you, let me just give you 2 major points. Right now, allow me to give just 2 major points as a message related to this power of yes. First one, analyze and see if you are a growth mindset or a fixed mindset. This is very, very important, my dear friends. It's not just for the kids, it's actually for all of us, because learning happens at every stage of our life. A growth mindset is when you're open to learning and you create possibilities, ready to face challenges, thereby build your skills, build your knowledge, build your abilities. This is a growth mindset. Whereas the fixed mindset is contrary to this, you don't want to explore, you refuse to work further, you don't want to do the projects that is given, you don't want to take the tasks further, you run away from situations, and you do not engage yourself in developing your skills and abilities. So this is this area. Now find out if you are a growth mindset person or a fixed mindset person. The second thing, my second message will be, do something that will enrich your life, that will take you out of your comfort zone. Dr. Bhattacharya was speaking. I really liked the way he was viewing all things that a child or a student needs while entering into the real world. He was talking about the various challenges at the psychological level, at the financial level, skills of adapting, identity crisis, and so many things. And he gave a whole panoramic view of what exactly needs to be. So here I would say, you need to definitely, he spoke about this, to be out of your comfort zone. A comfort zone is the most, I would say, the most dangerous place. It actually prevents you from improving. It stops you from achieving all the things you're capable of achieving. You have great skills, you have great ability, but when you are in your comfort zone and you don't want to go out of it, you stop moving further in life. Well, also Dr. Bhattacharya was talking about the learning curve. I would say be on your learning curve to get onto the right path. This is opportunity because you have a lot of time, my dear friends, my dear students, and no other batch had such time. You are fortunate. You have this time in your hand. Be on the learning curve to get onto the right path. Learn something new. You could build your profile by doing a lot of online certified program. You see this mobile app. There are so many mobile apps. For example, I would say the Udemy. Download Udemy and see how many free certified programs you get. You have 3 hours program, you have a week's program, you have 2 days program. Do this, utilize your time to the best. Once again, I say you're fortunate lot. You have the time, utilize it, get certified, build your profile, volunteer for a program and collect credit hours. This is very important when you go to colleges or universities. Here, even if you're not able to do that, if you don't just do one thing, okay, you're a mathematics student of grade 12 and you're good at math. And there is somebody in grade 7 or grade 8, children who are weak in math, they're not able to afford for the tutoring. Take 3 kids, do the online tutoring for them in mathematics. And after 2 months or 3 months after their results, after some time, you can, when they are happy, the result that you have brought, feel proud about it. And then you can ask these kids and the parents to give you a small little note which says that you volunteered and how helpful it was to them. This is how you build your profile and you become so positive with this. You're confident that you can do it. You can do it. And this will lead you to more, it will link you to further of achievements, support an online health related campaign. Now you see, when you go, you see there's so much of health related campaigns happening. Just check, try to communicate. Communication is so very, very important. You need to communicate, get connected. Connection is another important thing. Don't say social media is very important, but you need to understand where to draw a line, what you need and what you should not need. That is very important. You need to distinguish that. So you can get into the social media and support some health related campaign. This is how you build your profile for the future without wasting your time. Again, I reiterate, you have all the time in the world. You are most fortunate, this batch. So please do that without wasting your time and build your profile by doing some internship programs. Well, I will say try it and you will start experiencing a positive change in you. You will start gaining confidence and you will be on top of the world. You will know what you're doing is building you, right? After 3 months, you know where you are now, where you are after 3 months. Surely you will benefit. Thank you. And over to Mr. Roy.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I think the positivity that you just brought to the table is infectious. I think this was the first time that I have heard somebody say that the batch of students passing out this year were fortunate. And I think that's a beautiful perspective. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Mrs. Pathak, if I may come to you with the same question, what is the advice that you typically give your class, the passing out batch, the outgoing students? Ma'am, you're on mute. If you could please unmute yourself. Not yet, ma'am. You'll have to unmute yourself, please. Yeah.
Yes. You see, for this passing out batch, I was listening to Dr. James. It was really very encouraging. Though we know that these kids who were with us from the very beginning, maybe some are from 5 years of age, some are from 3 years of age, and they have developed all of their life skills from us only, from the school only. So we have to prepare them. But this whole year, being the totally lockdown stage, totally online school was going on, this made really a lot of change amongst the students. The things I think we were prohibiting in school, those things became the school on the whole. We were prohibiting mobile phones, we were prohibiting many things in school, and we made children learn through those things only. And I think only the best part was with this, that children were able to analyze what is good for them and what is bad for them. So they are a bit matured now. They know what they have to do, what was their main concern throughout the part. Earlier, they thought it to be taking it in a very casual way. These are the holidays and these are only online classes, not very concentrated on their studies. But later on, they developed this and they made this as a strength of them. And many students, they have learned a lot. But because this pandemic is a best teacher for every one of us, not only for the students, we have passed through such a stage that it has become a really very good teacher for all of us. So students and teachers, everyone has learned a lot. I think we should, that these teenagers, they are very much aware of the good and bad things, the pros and cons of all the things in the life. And they are very much able to judge what is good for them. Their thoughts have changed, their points have changed. But still, when being a teacher, we have to tell our students, still some of the things are lacking in the children. Like they are lacking patience. They are lacking concentration on studies, because they can get things very easily. They're not even able to, the understanding power, somewhere we can say that they are not able to understand, but through internet and these online classes, they're able to understand all the things. Their grasping has increased, but still it is teaching us a lot. It is teaching students how to move on to the future world. They are prepared, and still they have to be prepared a lot. They have to prepare themselves, because like Dr. Bhattacharyya was saying, the whole world is very different. The peer pressure they will be moving into is very different. They have to deal with that. They have not dealt with this. The social world was only through the social media. Their peer groups, the thoughts were not there. So now they have to, when they enter the new world, we should say that they have been given instantly, they are giving freedom. When in school, they were totally bounded. But when they are moving out in college, they are moving out for the higher studies, they are instantly, the freedom has been given. So sometimes it becomes very difficult for the children how to judge for what is good and what is bad for them. They cannot analyze the things. But I think the year has taught them to analyze the pros and cons of all the parts, but still they need to learn a lot. They have to be very disciplined. They have to be very patient. They have to be very tolerant for all these things, which I find that this present generation is lacking. I hope so. So they have to be very thoughtful also. They are concerned, they are becoming parent concern, they are becoming family concern is rising in them, but they have to improve a lot. So I think we should teach them how to be more tolerant, how to be more patient, and they have to analyze the things in a very different way, which were not earlier. Earlier generations, earlier school, earlier present college students have not felt these things. They have to feel the situation, which is really very panicking also. Presently, the conditions are worsening day by day. I don't think the whole year again is going to be this way. So students have to be taught a lot.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Ma'am, if I may stay with you on the next question as well,
Yes.
because you head up a co-education school.
Yeah.
This period where they're leaving school is also, they're going through the adolescence,
Right.
they're becoming young adults. And for the first time, they are perhaps going to have meaningful interpersonal human relationships.
Right.
Do you also give them advice on how to navigate the personal lives?
No, they can, obviously they can, they should, I think they should analyze regarding their personal life, because being a head of the co-educational institution, this thing we have faced a lot. Even it depends on the areas. In metropolitan cities, the areas, the differences there, that the students' outlook is quite different. In our areas where we are staying, the students' viewpoint is very different. So in co-educational institutions, till this age, students, they learn how to be with their peer groups, whether the gender is not affecting them. There are many a times that because of these gender factors, and this peer pressure, sometimes, rather many a times I should say, 90% times I have seen that both the genders in competition with their peer groups, they have improved in their studies. And it does not feel very, I don't think everyone can appreciate it, but it is there. Because when it comes to the peer pressure, students, as per their gender, boys, if girl is teaching them, they take it very seriously, they study very properly. And if boys are teaching to the girls, they take it very seriously and they study very well. So this is the difference. So at this present time, when they move out of the world, move to the world of a bigger area, like they are from a pond and they have been left into the sea, and they have to, either they will survive or they won't be surviving. So they have to come up with all these things. They are learning, they will be learning also. And earlier, because of these social medias, I think they were very much only for friendship, and now they have used it as a mode of learning also. I think it is good. They will not be facing any kind of problem in this.
Wonderful, ma'am. Dr. James, if I may come to you with the same point, because you head up a school in Kuwait, a very different kind of society. I'm sure your classes are extremely multicultural. How do you deal with this part of personal advice that you give to students?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Roy. And I know that students are entering the adulthood, and then when they go out into the world, as Dr. Bhattacharya said, they kind of have a freedom. They don't have a pastoral care over there. And the advice that we need to also look at the personal life of the child. We need to talk to them about it, because teenagers are on the brink of the adulthood here when they get into the world, when they're leaving the school, and they kind of want a belongingness with the adult. They want an acceptance with the adult. We need to understand this area and the children, because they are actually struggling through this developmental milestone right now. They begin to physically look like adults, do what adults want to do, such as, I can see here children, they like to drive the cars, although they don't have the license. And they like to work. They think if they earn, they can get some money and develop the interest the adults have, like smoking. They see. So these are the things that is happening at this time. Yet they have only the life experiences of a child. This is the most important thing. They want to act like adults. They want to be accepted in the adult group, but then the experience is a child's experience. So this prevents a challenging transmission between the responsibilities of adulthood and the innocence of a childhood, I would say. So some teens go through the transition more quickly and easily than some of the others, adapting to the responsibilities that come with the freedom of the adult choices, and mistakes can have large consequences at this stage. We have seen so much of things happening. It's not just where I live. I'm sure I read a lot and I see the kind of things that are happening in the past 10 years. It's more drastic than what used to happen before a decade. And in trying to keep our children safe, the parents and the school, we struggle most of the time with the choice of letting natural consequences taking effect, So I think as a school and as parents, this transition of the teens in the personal life, we need to provide choices that seem appropriate to each specific child. Not all teenagers have the same kind of skills or temperaments. We need to understand this and appreciate the unique gift, the unique knowledge they have, and permit the teens. I would say this more to the parents in the audience. Please permit your children, your teens, to express themselves, and be careful not to impose your own vision upon them. This is very important. And at the same time, you should stay firm, even in the school, a mentor, a counselor. We give them the freedom, but we also need to stay firm by the beliefs and values that we have, because these are very important. We kind of should provide the clear expectations of behavior from the child and provide rewards, consequences, according to positive and negative behavior. We should come to an understanding so the children know what is expected. They can't just do what they want. There's a set of rules that they will have to, ground rules that they have to follow with certain things. Parents, again, and even to counselors and mentors and teachers, I would say another thing: listen to your teens. Listening skill is very important. And we, older people, we all think only we will listen, we'll lecture, and they have to listen. No, no, no. Listen to your teens. Teens today face extraordinary degrees of stress. Dr. Bhattacharyya was talking about the stress level. We don't know unless we listen to them. How do we know it? Do not dismiss their worries and concerns. Their concern, it may look very simple and silly to you, but do not dismiss it. It's very important, because at a point, if you dismiss it, you don't know, it would come as a boomerang later in some other form. But empathize with them, strategize together, help them to develop confidence in their skills. This is very important, because we were also talking about the image. This is very important. And expect mistakes. Do you, we adults, don't we do mistakes? We, all of us do mistakes. We are no saints. We are no God. We do mistakes. Similarly, even teenagers do mistakes. You need to expect mistakes. Don't berate your child for making poor choices. Do not discourage them, I would say. Allow natural consequences and teach them as far as possible. Only the thing is, I would say, do not allow them to make the same mistakes again and again. Then that's really a problem. We need to look at it. Finally, I would say we need to have patience, and we need to support them completely, because the emotional changes are happening. There are hormonal changes that is happening personally. So in the personal front, I think these are all very important. It is actually a time of great confusion, trying to figure out new feelings. It takes a lot of introspection, so teens can even seem obsessed with their own wants and needs. They wouldn't bother about the others' wants and needs. So these are all what a parent, a counselor, a mentor, a school teacher, and a school as a whole needs to understand in the growth of the child in the personal life. Over to Mr. Roy.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Ma'am, this is a perfect segue for me to ask you about a set of slightly older adults, the parents. You spoke about the kind of advice you would give to them. My question is, the students are now receiving two sets of advice, right? One that the school is giving out to them. Second, that the parents are bombarding them with. And I have realized that from my personal life, I had extremely liberal parents, and they became extremely obsessed with my career and my growth around the time when I was finishing school and going into college. So the volume of advice definitely goes up. How do you ensure that these two sets of advice are aligned?
Mr. Roy, I think you're a very fortunate child. Thanks, hats off to your parents. Helping to prepare the teens for their life after high school is one of the most important tasks, because this is each parent will be facing this. Not only the parent, of course, the school also has a role. All the parents who had teens before this, I'm sure they will raise their hands when I say, did you have a problem with your child? Did you really have sleepless nights when your child was moving from grade 10 to grade 11 and you had to choose the stream? Many times in my own experience as a principal, what I've seen is the parents come to me. I do a lot of counseling session also with the parents. And they want the child to take up a subject they aspired in their teens, but were not fortunate to do so at all. In spite of the child resisting, they don't care about it. The child refuses the group. He says, I don't have interest. I'm not interested. But when they are forced, they land up at the end of grade 11 by failing in grade 11.
Yes. I
Yeah.
agree with you, ma'am.
Yeah, this is what happens many a times.
Yes.
And then the second set, I would say again, when they finish grade 12 and they're getting into the university or college, the children, what mistake they do, they choose blindly courses where their friends are getting into a particular
Yes.
course or college, and they fail miserably here also. They realize it later, and some of them change their courses and waste 2 or 3 years in their life. And some of them become dropouts for life.
Yes.
They lose interest in studies. So what I would say, it's very important that the parents, students, and the teachers are involved in the students' interest in the future. It's a triangle, I will say. Parents, students, and the
school.
teacher and the school. This cannot happen in isolation. We have to work together, and this could cause, which could, if we work in isolation, what is going to happen is it will definitely cause confusion or failure, because each one are talking with different goals and different purposes. So we need to synchronize our purpose of speaking to these children. We need to go with a goal in mind and speak the same language. So this needs to be tackled very efficiently by both the parties, the school and the home. We need to balance it. There should be a proper plan laid down by the school and needs to be shared with the stakeholders. In this approach, the entire school community, I would say, school leaders, counselors, mentors, teachers, learners, parents, they all should be engaged in a collective and collaborative action, which can result in a strong cooperation for the better plan of the student. My suggestion here would be start an early career roadmap from grade 8, either through the school, if the school has that kind of a facility, because all the school does not have a proper, counseling cell. So
Yes.
if it's not in the school, they can have proper professional career service or through career consultants, right from grade 8. I would vouch this for everybody. A human child's mind or a human's mind is not constant and keeps on changing every year. So I think right from 8, when you start, the career guidance will be able to map the child's ability, will be able to map the child's aptitude and the different skills, and will be in a position to give a report and a roadmap which can support the most right career, the right suited career for the child through the various psychometric tests and other things. And they can also guide for admissions to better colleges and courses and universities in the future. Finally, what I would say and advise to the parents, I would want the parents, please listen, you need to resist the temptation to lecture your children. You need to resist the temptation to nag your children, and try to remain supportive and enthusiastic. Even if your teen keeps changing his mind, don't we change our mind at various things? We always don't look at us. We look at, oh, he's doing that. He's often changing his mind. Every year he wants to do another career. He wants to get into another kind of job. Allow him. He needs a positive influence during this transitional time. They are teens. They are undergoing a lot of pressure, stress. And if we don't support him, who else can? Times have changed. Wake up, parents. You need to support your children. Over to Mr. Roy.
That was wonderful, ma'am. Thank you so much. Mrs. Pathak, I'll come to you with the same question, but a bit of a twist, because you are sitting in Pilani, Rajasthan.
Yes.
And your city is put on the map by one particular engineering college.
Yeah.
So I'm quite sure a bunch of parents want their children to end up in that college.
Yes, obviously.
How do you deal with that?
That becomes a very different thing, because here in Pilani, if we have to counsel the students, like after 10th or after 10th when the results are out, most of the parents, they want their wards to be admitted in science faculty. Why they have to be engineers? Why? Does the child have the aptitude or does the child have no aptitude? It doesn't matter to them. So it becomes really very difficult for the school, we as the mentors, to it becomes sometimes that the children, they are not wanting to do it. Then it becomes very difficult. That child has not to go to that particular field, and the parent, they want to admit their ward in that only. Like Madam James was saying, it is like that. So it becomes really very, and even sometimes it happens to the level that if we say no because of the child, and we have the counsel, parent says fine, we will get him admitted somewhere else. So they have to finally put up the pressure on the child that the child has to study this particular faculty only, and the faculty of his choice is not there. So in particular in our region, it is very important that maximum with good scores should go for science, the poor scorer should go for commerce, and the worst scorer should go for arts. And it becomes very difficult for us at that time. But scenes are changing. Even in my school, the top scorers went for commerce and arts, and they were the school toppers, and it became an encouragement. So it becomes parents counseling is very important. And I agree with ma'am that from class 8, if we have a brain mapping tests and the psychometric tests for the students, so originally their thoughts can be inclined that where the child wants to go. It becomes difficult many a times, right? 90% times it is difficult, but still it is encouraging for when the student performs very well, it becomes encouragement for the students as well as teachers. We are even encouraging for sports, because some of the students are more inclined towards sports. We are giving them a very good opportunity to play for the schools, for play individuals, for teams, and students are focusing their career on that. And I find it, if we give them something which they are liking a lot, I think it becomes a good opportunity for them. They can seek the opportunities from their failures also. It is important.
Wonderful, ma'am. I will now come to my last question. We have spoken about the advice that you will give to a student before they pass out of school. Today, in a technologically connected world, do you still remain in touch with them after they pass out of school? Do you provide guidance for, let's say, the years to follow?
Yes, students are encouraging. Students are connected, or presently also students are connected with the teachers, with the school, with the faculties, for everyone. And time to time, we are providing them guidance. It's not that it will be done now. We are providing them guidance. All the students, all my teachers, all my faculties, they are guiding students through online mode, in person also, with all the modes of social media. The students are learning. I don't think in that mode they are having any problems.
Wonderful, ma'am. Dr. James, the same question, your contact with your students once they graduate onto colleges.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Roy. The contact with the students once they graduate, let me tell you, in the mode of career path, I don't think we have anything much to, but one thing, as we are in a multicultural, school, we have the children, when they come to us for a lot of recommendation notes, and we kind of call to colleges or universities to speak to them also over phone, to support them, to say what they have done when there are inquiries. This way we get connected to them. The teachers of various subjects, they do make a lot of recommendation letters to colleges and universities at UK or Australia or Canada or US or the Gulf by itself. And this way we are able to support them to get a better subject, or the subject of their choice in the colleges and universities. And definitely once in 6 months, because they need to maintain the residence, they do come here. When they come here, we add them up into our alumni list, and we take support from them to talk to the other children, the grade 11, the grade 12, talk about the experience. Well, I really feel proud and honored at this moment to say that we have, as a principal for, it's like 21 years as a principal, and 36 years of experience with me, I have really seen great students who are big doctors and advocates and lawyers, and in the in the embassy and other places, and also who are holding, although they hold a small place somewhere, but that is great to me because they are doing justice to what the place they hold or the work they do, the integrity they hold, the values they hold with them and move on. This way we always feel proud and we get connected to whoever, wherever and however possible. Here I would like to say that I am an alumni of my school, and we brought in a lot of projects and programs like painting the school walls, giving the laptops. This is before 10 years that we started giving the laptops to the 3 streams, the best passing out streams in the school. And every year we come together and we have our respect and a salute to alma mater. So that is how the connection with the school should be. We also support our classmates who really are not in a very good situations, and we have supported them in various ways. So I think that should be the kind of connection that should be between a school pass out and the school as such. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And I think it speaks volumes about your institution to see the alumnus coming back to head the institution later.
Yes.
I don't think this is very frequent at a school level. We see a lot of this in the college level.
In fact, I have half a dozen teachers who are my ex-students, half a dozen of them who are my teachers in the school.
Wonderful. That's wonderful to hear. Well, thank you both. This has been a wonderful, wonderful discussion. I'm sure there's a lot to thank for. I shall let Achin do the formal vote of thanks, but it's been a privilege playing host to you. Achin, over to you.
Really wonderful session. So I think the best part of it is the way the entire flow of discussion was. I really like, different aspects coming in, and I think very wholesome discussion. So I think we touched upon various issues. Dr. James, thank you so much. I think one point that you highlighted really stays with me, and I'm sure it stays with our esteemed audience as well. Parents need to support their children. I think that was something that again and again you brought forward, and I completely agree with you on that. With 20 years of experience as principal and 36 years of teaching experience, undoubtedly words of wisdom. So of course, and some very important aspects you highlighted, ma'am, including I think very important that the fact that when students step into a college, with life experience of a child and wanting acceptance in the adult world, I think that's a huge pressure point. That entire transition at times may not be very smooth. So I think it's our responsibility, various roles as members of the society, in whatever roles we ourselves are, be it as an educator, as a parent, as a family member, or as a friend, as a well-wisher, to lend a helping hand and understand what he or she is actually going through before passing a judgment, which very often happens, And also, I think, ma'am, another very important aspect you highlighted, and I think we all agree with you on that, keeping children safe and a set of rules and listening skills, very, very important. Yes, I completely agree with you on that. That very often, I think, the most difficult part of mentoring or counseling is to give a patient hearing to someone. And the most important part, unless until we hear, how do we actually lend a helping hand? How do we actually solve? So thank you so much for that. And also career roadmap concept that you highlighted, that mapping of ability and attitude, that I'm sure is going to be very, very helpful if done in a proper way. At least a proper roadmap, a proper growth trajectory, which helps. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for your time and for gracing the platform.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Jaya, ma'am, I indeed thank you for your time. And for some very good points you highlighted. I think most important thing that really stays with all of us, the need for freedom. Like, I think you very nicely deliberated on it, that what is good and bad. So aspects like discipline, patience, tolerance, thoughtfulness, and also the role of all stakeholders, the role of parents and teachers as well, in terms of ensuring that these things are indeed taken care of. So, and also the role of social media that you very nicely highlighted, the role of social media and other aspects like gender factor, peer pressure, etc., and also the positive side of it, taking a more practical view. So I think really great discussion we had, and I'm sure our esteemed educators in this forum have a lot of takeaways for them. And I thank all of you for your time here today, for being with us. It is indeed with your support and strength that Together for Education webinar has really grown from sense to sense. And I think today, 91st episode is a real testimony to that. Thank you. Thank you. Take care and goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Good night.
Thank you. Good night. Take care.